Well, it came completely out of left field. I hadn't heard any gossip. I hadn't heard any rumours. I was absolutely astonished. I got home last night and suddenly, boom, big news flash at a joint press conference that took place between Australian Premier Scott Morrison, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and American President Joe Biden. And it was the announcement. AUKUS, it's called. It's the three of us joining together, and we are going to help Australia develop nuclear-powered submarines. Now, they had a deal with the French, who were going to provide them with diesel-powered submarines. But there's one fundamental difference. Diesel submarines have to surface once every 24 hours or so. A nuclear submarine can deep dive and be submerged for months at a time, making it much harder for any potential enemy to detect. Now, let's be in no doubt about what this pact is about. It's about the growing militarism of China, the South China Sea, their increasingly bellicose comments about Taiwan. And this is the Anglosphere, or most of the Anglosphere, getting together in an attempt to counter that threat. This is how Prime Minister Boris Johnson explained the deal to the House of Commons this morning.
It's important for the House to understand that AUKUS is not intended to be adversarial towards any other power, Mr. Speaker, but it merely reflects the close relationship that we have with the United States and with Australia, the shared values that we have and the sheer level of trust between us. Obviously, we also have a shared interest in promoting democracy, human rights, freedom of navigation and freedom of trade around the world.
And last night, in the live press conference, this was the US President Joe Biden thanking his counterparts.
Thank you, Boris. And I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister. And I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It was a really very important announcement, but of course the duffer that is currently in the White House, Joe Biden, just couldn't remember the name of the Australian Prime Minister, and that's because he shouldn't really be in the White House. He's not up to it, but never mind. Clearly, his admirals and his generals have done, I think, a pretty good job. Now, not everybody was happy about this. Indeed, the former French ambassador to the United States, Gerard Araud, he was far less than impressed when he said, "The world is a jungle." France has just been reminded of this bitter truth by the way the US and the UK have stabbed her in the back in Australia. C'est la vie. So the French, not happy. Unsurprisingly, the Chinese government, not happy. And we'll come to that in a few minutes in the show. And I guess the one real disappointment is that the New Zealand Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, has said she will ban the submarines from Kiwi waters.
Well, certainly they couldn't come into our internal waters. Our legislation means that nothing that is wholly or fully powered, no vessel that is wholly or fully, partially or fully powered by nuclear energy is able to enter into our internal waters. So that is in fact a position that has been held across parties for a long period of time.
So New Zealand, which has been part of the Five Eyes intelligence partnership, where we share intelligence at a very high level, effectively pretty much cast themselves out of it about 8 weeks ago when Ardern said, the New Zealand Prime Minister, that she was now forging a new strategic partnership with China. It seems to me that some people can be bought for money. So I'm afraid New Zealand wants nothing to do with this pact whatsoever. And that's a disappointment. But they're a tiddler and they don't matter, in a sense, that much. It's just disappointing. But let's not underestimate the significance of what's happened here. Following Joe Biden's catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan, international relations were at pretty much a low. The so-called special relationship in cold storage. NATO seeming not to function, with an American president that treated it with contempt. But what has really happened here, and it's fascinating, if you think about it, the European Union, which the French have always tried to lead and dominate, was a project set up in the 1950s to deal with a series of problems that evaporated in the first half of the 20th century. NATO was set up in the 1940s to counter the threat from the Soviet Union, and that threat effectively disappeared, or mostly disappeared, with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. What no one's been able to do is to work out how to counteract, how to stop the rapacious Chinese Communist Party. You've been engaged in a huge military build-up, and we'll talk about their naval build-up in a moment. This is the Anglosphere coming together with a 21st century solution. France's diesel-powered subs were a 20th century solution. The nuclear subs are a 21st century solution, and I welcome the Anglosphere coming together. And I will say this deal would not have happened had it not been for Brexit. Had we been tied into an EU foreign policy, and we certainly wouldn't have gone against major French government contracts. So Brexit has allowed us to do, and in many ways, this was always the Brexiteers' dream, because my view has always been that our best friends in the world speak English, and I really, really mean that. People with whom we've shared so much, so many good things and so many bad things over the last century or two. So I welcome this deal, but I'm asking you, do you think this is a good deal?
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.